If you really want to know someone, don't look at their smile, look at their pages. The truth sits in ink long before it sits in the heart. And for her, every secret, every hope, every heartbreak she never dared to speak was tucked between the worn leather covers of a diary she carried everywhere. She thought those pages were private and her words safe. But life has a way of turning the wrong page at the wrong time and handing it to the wrong person. This is the story of Elena Marquez, the girl who crossed an ocean to marry her first love, and the billionaire who found her diary before he ever found her heart. If you love stories where a heart gets broken, rebuilt, and loved better than before, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps this little story find more people who need it. All right, let's begin. Elena Marquez leaned her forehead against the cold glass of the airport window, watching planes cross a dull Paris sky. Her reflection stared back at her, dark curls pulled into a loose bun, tired eyes, a small, determined mouth. Her suitcase sat by her feet, scuffed from years of running between student housing, late-night shifts, and library floors. She whispered, "I'm going home," more to herself than to anyone listening. 24 years of life, 3 years in Paris, a lifetime of carrying other people's expectations like extra baggage. Inside her worn leather bag lay the one thing she never let out of her sight, a thick diary, its edges frayed, pages crowded with her cramped handwriting. She grew up in a small Florida neighborhood, in a restaurant that smelled like garlic, tomatoes, and hope. Her dad had adopted her after she'd been abandoned as a sick baby. He liked to say she'd been dropped off at his door by life itself. "I didn't choose you," he would tease. "You were delivered." He fed her with love, late-night soup, gentle advice, and the kind of talks that stick long after the plates have been cleared. He worked hard so she could dream big, and she did. The girl from the tiny restaurant ended up on a scholarship at one of the most prestigious universities in Paris, studying product science and formulation, how to build things people put on their skin and never think twice about. Every spare minute went to work. Waiting tables, wiping counters, stocking shelves, translating menus for tourists. She ate instant noodles and cheap bread, wrapped herself in 2 coats when the heater quit, and wrote her fears into that diary instead of saying them out loud. But through all of it, one thing kept her going. Tyler Rodriguez, her childhood sweetheart. They met as children in the orphanage before her adoption. Tiny, scared, forgotten by the world. He put extra blankets over her when she wheezed at night. She drew him little doodles of superheroes with crooked capes. They made a promise neither of them understood at the time. When we grow up, we'll get married. Life separated them for a while, but they found one another again as teenagers. Friendship turned into something deeper. Messages, late calls, quiet, "I love you"s that carried more weight than either of them could say. For 20 years, in her heart, Tyler was a story. As Elena stood at the boarding gate, her friend Savannah Cole swept in like a perfume ad come to life. Savannah's father was a famous American investor, the kind of man who made money move with a signature. Savannah wore a thick cream-colored coat and sunglasses too big for her face. "There she is," Savannah announced, "our Paris queen." Elena laughed and hugged her. "I'm more like the queen of instant noodles." Savannah handed over a boarding pass and watched Elena's face. Elena frowned. "Save, this is first class." Savannah smiled. "I know. I changed it. You didn't have to do that." "I wanted to. You spent 3 years fighting for every crumb of joy. Let one thing be soft." Savannah squeezed her hand. "Call me when you land. And hey, make sure this Tyler is as good as you say. Otherwise, I'm flying out there myself." "He's good," Elena said, heart swelling. "He's home." She hugged Savannah one more time, then whispered inside her own head, like a final vow, "When I land, I'm marrying the man I've loved since I could walk, and I'm finally giving my dad the happiness he deserves. She picked up her suitcase, her diary safe inside, and walked toward a future she thought she already knew. First class felt like another planet. Wide seats, soft light, the hush of people used to this kind of comfort. Elena kept her bag close, fingers grazing the spine of her diary through the leather. Her seat, 2B. The man in 2A looked like he was carved from some expensive idea of masculinity. Broad shoulders under a charcoal suit, shirt open at the collar, dark hair that managed to look artfully tousled instead of messy. He wore no flashy jewelry, only a simple black watch. He glanced at her with calm, clear eyes. Evening. She shifted, suddenly aware of the wrinkles in her clothes. Hi. Long trip? Yeah, back to Florida. It's been 3 years. Big day, he said. Very big, she replied with a half-smile. He extended his hand. Landon Pierce. She shook it. Elena! The name meant nothing to her. To the rest of the world, it meant Owen Global Beauty, a multi-billion-dollar company that made cosmetics, skincare, and lifestyle products for people who could afford to buy little illusions in glass bottles. Landon was the heir, the vice president, the man one decision away from taking over the empire. Right now, he just wanted a quiet flight. The plane took off. The lights dimmed. Elena pulled out a notebook and began sketching product ideas, writing down formula notes and ideas for affordable skincare items inspired by her nights in Paris. Landon noticed, eyes drifting from his tablet to the concentration on her face. Chemistry, he asked. Product science, she answered. I like making things people use every day. He nodded. That's rare. Most people like making things others just look at. She laughed softly. Pretty doesn't always have to be useless. They fell into a comfortable silence. Hours later, the plane landed. As passengers rose, 2 men in plain clothes approached Landon, his security team, moving in with calm precision. Sir, your father expects you in the office. We need to get you through a separate exit. One murmured. To everyone else, they looked like ordinary guys guiding a businessman through a crowd. To Elena, half asleep and running on emotion, it looked like trouble. 1 second she was fumbling for her bag. The next, she saw 2 men closing on the person who'd sat beside her for hours. She reacted. Hey! Elena shouted, pushing past another passenger. She slammed her small suitcase into one guard's side. Let him go. The man barely stumbled, more surprised than hurt. Landon froze, eyes wide. Ma'am, the security chief said carefully, he's my boss. Elena blinked. You're what? Landon pressed his lips together, fighting a smile. I appreciate the rescue attempt. She wanted to disappear. Oh no. Oh no, no, no. I am so sorry. I thought. Kidnapping? Landon offered. Her cheeks burned. Yes. The security chief, still amused, pulled a card from his pocket. If you ever get tired of product science, we're always hiring brave idiots. She stared at the card. Antonio Lee, security director, Owen Global. Brave people, he corrected himself, winking. Landon nodded to her. Nice meeting you, Elena. She watched them leave, stomach twisting with embarrassment. At baggage claim, the carousel spit out suitcase after suitcase. Elena grabbed a black one with a navy tag that looked like hers. Across the hall, Landon grabbed an identical one. The moment they rolled away, their lives turned onto the same page. Landon's penthouse smelled like polished wood and quiet wealth. He tossed his suitcase onto a bench and unzipped it, expecting suits and files. Instead, he found a faded hoodie, a few thrift store dresses, a tiny sewing kit, a bag of cheap instant noodles, a worn leather diary. He paused, fingers resting on it. He knew better than to open something so personal. But the cover had been handled so much the corners had softened, like someone had held it through storms. He opened it. Inside were letters written to someone named Tyler. Pages about freezing Paris nights and hunger. Notes about saving money, fear of failing, love that stretched across time zones. And not a word complaining about the work, just quietly facing it. He read about her dad's restaurant, the way grease never fully left the corners of his fingernails, the way he smelled like grilled onions no matter how many times he washed his clothes. He read about being abandoned but never feeling unloved. He read about Tyler, the boy who protected her at the orphanage, who received every victory, every success, every dream in letter form. 20 years of one man. Landon snapped the diary closed, chest strangely tight. He wasn't used to this kind of honesty. His world was polished statements, curated images, and stock prices. On impulse, he recorded a short, blurred video and posted it to a private social media account only company insiders followed. The caption read, "A girl who has loved one man for 20 years. If you know her, tell her I have her life in a suitcase." He blurred names. No face. No direct details. Just the idea. He didn't expect it to spread. But employees shared it. Friends shared it. Screenshots traveled. And somewhere in Florida, at a modest office desk, Tyler Rodriguez stared at the post on his phone, coffee cooling beside him. He recognized the handwriting in the blurred corner. His stomach dropped. He locked his screen and leaned back, eyes swirling with guilt and something else he didn't want to name. When Elena stepped through the sliding doors into the Florida heat, the air felt like a hug she'd missed. Tyler stood outside with a bouquet of wildflowers and one of his old, crooked smiles. He looked the same, tan skin, familiar brown eyes, hair still refusing to lay flat. "Elena," he breathed, pulling her into his arms. She melted into him. "You're real," she whispered. "Last I checked." They drove through familiar streets. The sky streaked with pink and orange. The town had changed in small ways. New shops, a repainted church, but it felt like the same place that had held her childhood. Landon blinked. "Yeah, retail. Got it." His father narrowed his eyes. "If you want this company one day, you need your head in the game, not in whatever distraction has you staring out windows." Later that night, alone in his penthouse, Landon opened the suitcase again, thumb resting on the diary's edge. "Where are you, Elena?" he murmured. He didn't know that, right then, she was sleeping 2 floors above a room where men try to punch their way through pain. And both of them were closer than they thought. 3 days after the breakup, Elena woke with a head that felt stuffed with cotton and a heart that felt bruised. She sat up slowly, staring at the cheap hotel painting on the wall. On the nightstand lay a printed email confirmation. Interview, Owen Global Beauty, R&D/product development. She had sent that application months ago and forgotten about it in the blur of finals and heartbreak. Now the date circled on her phone was today. She washed her face, pulled her curls back, and put on the best outfit she had left. Simple, neat, not fancy. Her real portfolio, full of lab notes and prototypes, was in the suitcase that never arrived. She swallowed the frustration and headed out anyway. The lobby of Owen Global looked like a cathedral to money. Marble floors, soaring windows, a chandelier dripping crystals like frozen rain. Elena approached the front desk. "Hi, I'm here for an R&D interview. Elena Marquez." The receptionist eyed her outfit, then her empty hands. "Portfolio?" "It was in my suitcase, which got swapped at the airport." "So, you came to a major interview with no materials?" The woman's tone turned sharp. "It's not an excuse," Elena said quickly. I still know my work. I can. A couple of employees nearby snickered. Sure, one muttered. Maybe she's the diary girl from that video. Heat shot through Elena's neck. What did you say? Nothing, the employee replied, suddenly busy with a clipboard. The receptionist shook her head. Look, we're on a tight schedule. I don't think. The office door behind them opened. Footsteps crossed the floor. Elena? A familiar voice said. She turned. Landon Pierce stood there, no tie, sleeves rolled to his forearms, expression caught between surprise and something like relief. Her mouth went dry. You. Whispers rippled across the lobby. He walked closer, eyes never leaving her face. You're here for the R&D role. She squared her shoulders. And you're the man who opened my suitcase and read my diary. The room held its breath. Landon's jaw shifted. I opened it to find the owner. You posted my life online. I blurred the details. It was my life, she said, voice tight. Not your source of inspiration. The receptionist glanced between them, stunned. Landon exhaled slowly. You're right. I crossed lines I shouldn't have. But you are not walking out of this building today without at least getting a fair interview. You earned that much. He turned to the receptionist. Take her upstairs. Make sure they see her work, even if it's just in what she says. The woman nodded, suddenly very polite. Inside his office minutes later, the tension stayed thick. You humiliated me, Elena said, fighting tears. You made me a story. You were already a story, he replied gently. I just happened to read a few chapters. You think that helps? She shot back. He leaned against his desk. Your words cut through a life where everyone is performing. You were honest in that diary. I realized I wasn't. Silence thinned between them. She folded her arms. You still have my suitcase. Yes. And my diary. Yes. And you're not returning it because... He hesitated. Because if I put that suitcase in your hands right now, you might run. And he stopped recalibrating. I would like more than 60 seconds to know you in real life instead of ink. Her breath stuttered. He didn't sound like a billionaire giving a speech. He sounded like a man afraid of something he couldn't buy his way out of. I don't want pity, she said. You're not getting pity, he answered. You're getting an interview. After that, whatever you build here will be on your own merit. She studied him a moment longer, then nodded once. The interview panel grilled her with questions. Without her portfolio, she had to speak from memory, explaining formulas, walking through ingredient interactions, giving 3 alternative product ideas on the spot that could serve both high-end and budget consumers. When she finished, the room was quiet. One of the senior scientists scribbled a note and looked up. You're very good, Ms. Marquez. Later that week, she got the call. She got the job. Not because she knew Landon Pierce. Because she could build things that worked. Over the next few weeks, Elena threw herself into work. The product lab became her world. Rows of beakers, shells of ingredients, notes all over a whiteboard. She treated everyone with the same gentle respect. She learned the janitor's name. She brought extra samples for the receptionist who once doubted her. She asked interns about their projects and listened when they talked. Word of the diary girl still floated around, but inside the lab, she became something else. The woman who made serums that didn't just look pretty, but actually did the work. From his glass-walled office, Landon watched. He noticed the way she tilted her head when thinking, the way she always said we instead of I when a project succeeded, the way she defended a junior chemist who made a mistake, saying, we test to learn, not to punish. One afternoon, he passed a cluster of employees whispering. Did you see the clip? One snickered. 20 years wasted on some guy who dumped her. Imagine being that loyal. Another laughed. Landon stopped. You think that's funny? They went silent. He looked each of them in the eye. She loved one man for 20 years. That kind of loyalty is rare. Most people can't even commit to a streaming plan for 12 months. If more of us valued friendship and faithfulness over lust and ego, this place, he gestured around them, would be a lot healthier. Nobody spoke. He walked away. But Elena, who had stepped into the hallway just in time to hear that, stood frozen. She had spent weeks seeing him as the man who tore her privacy open. Now she saw something else. A man who could have stayed silent, but chose to defend her instead. Something shifted inside her then. Not a full turn. Just a slight, steady tilt. It started with one picture. Someone snapped a candid shot of Elena at her dad's restaurant on a Saturday. Hair in a simple braid. Apron tied around her waist. Laughter soft as she placed a plate of food in front of an older woman. The caption read, "This is the girl who loved the wrong man for 20 years and still serves the world with a smile." It went viral. Comments poured in. She deserved better. Protect this heart. Imagine being loved like that and walking away. Elena saw the post and felt both exposed and oddly seen. Her dad shook his head as he scrolled. People talk like they know your life. They know enough to have opinions, she said bitterly. At the same time, Tyler appeared again. He waited outside Owen Global's main entrance one evening, back against a pillar, flowers in his hand. When Elena walked out, she froze. "Tyler?" He straightened. "Can we talk?" She studied his face. There was something new there, uncertainty, maybe fear. "What do you want?" she asked quietly. "I saw the posts. People talking about you. About us." He swallowed. "I didn't realize how much you meant to everyone else until I saw how they reacted." She lifted an eyebrow. "Everyone else?" "And to me," he added quickly. I panicked, Elena. I felt trapped, and instead of working through it, I ran. I've been thinking a lot. Maybe we were scared at the same time. Maybe we can fix it. She held her bag tighter. "You want me back because you love me, or because you don't like the idea of me being loved by someone else?" His eyes flickered. She caught the answer in the silence. "I need time," she said. "Time?" He stepped closer. "We've had 20 years, Elena. And in those 20 years, you walked away when I landed," she replied. "You chose your freedom. I'm allowed to choose mine." He stared at her, wounded pride mixing with regret. "So that's it." "I don't know what it is yet," she answered honestly. "But I know I'm not making decisions just to protect your ego." She walked past him, heart rattling in her chest. Inside the Owen Global boardroom, another decision was being pushed. Landon sat across from his father, and a polished couple in formal attire. "This merger is our future," his father said. "Their family owns the distribution channels we need. And their daughter is not an asset," Landon cut in. "She's a person." "Don't be dramatic," his father snapped. "A public engagement would send our stock climbing. You both understand the expectations of marriages at this level." The young woman across the table gave a brittle smile. "No offense, Landon, but I don't want to marry a man whose heart is somewhere else either. I want shares, not vows." Landon's chest tightened. His father leaned forward. "You're letting feelings get in the way of legacy." "Maybe legacy without any feelings isn't worth inheriting," Landon replied, surprising even himself. Later, alone in his office, he stared at the city lights, diary open in front of him. He read Elena's words again, the ones about wanting a love that stayed, a love that showed up in the small places, a love that felt like home, not performance. He closed the book and made a choice. That night, as the office emptied, Elena found him standing by the window. She stepped inside. You sent me a message to come. He didn't turn right away. I did. She shut the door softly. Tyler came by. His shoulders tensed. And he wants to try again. Landon swallowed. Do you want that? She stared at his back. I used to think I did. I used to think my entire life depended on that story working out. He turned then, eyes tired but clear. And now, she said, I don't know anything for sure, except that I am so tired of loving alone. He nodded slowly. Elena, there's something I need to say. She waited. He rested his hands on the back of a chair, gripping it like a lifeline. When I opened your diary, I saw everything you were willing to bleed on paper, he said quietly. Your loyalty, your fear, your hope. And I realized I haven't written anything honest in my own life in a very long time. Just signatures, deals, statements, nothing from the heart. He looked at her, voice steady but soft. I kept your suitcase because losing it felt like losing the only raw truth I'd seen in years. I posted that blurred story because I didn't know how else to reach you. It was foolish. It hurt you. I regret that. Her eyes shimmered. But I also watched you walk into this building and work harder than people who've had everything handed to them, he continued. I watch you treat the person who cleans a floor with the same respect you give the people who sign your checks. I watch you break open and still show up. He took a breath. And when I saw your ex come back around only after the world called you valuable, his jaw tightened. The idea of you choosing someone who left you crying in the street, it hurt in a way I cannot explain. Silence pressed in. Elena stepped closer, heart pounding. I don't want my life to be someone's project, Landon. I don't want to be saved. I don't want to be a story to fix. You're not, he said. I don't want to fix you. I just want to be in the pages you write next, if you'll have me there. Her chest rose and fell. And if I say no, I'll return your suitcase tonight, he replied. And I'll be the man who respected your choice, even if it breaks me. She stared at him for a long, quiet moment, then whispered, I need to see something first. That evening, the restaurant hummed with low conversation and clinking dishes. Elena wiped down the last table, muscles pleasantly sore from real, familiar work. Her father flipped the open sign to closed and locked the door. Long day, Mija? She nodded. Very. He studied her face. Different kind of tired today. Yeah, she admitted. Heart tired. He reached out and tucked a stray curl behind her ear. That's the heaviest kind. A soft knock echoed across the door. Her father frowned. We're closed. The knock came again, gentle but steady. Elena walked over and peered through the glass. Landon Pierce stood on the other side, wearing a simple gray Henley and dark jeans. No suit, no security, no polished script. Just him. She opened the door a crack. We're closed. I know, he said. I'm not here as a customer. I'm here because your father once said his food tells the truth. I thought I should find out what kind of truth I've been missing. Her father appeared behind her, wiping his hands on a towel. You must be the man whose card lives in my kitchen drawer. Landon's eyebrows lifted. Sir, Elena showed it to me when she first came home. Said she tackled you in an airplane. Her father chuckled. You owe her hazard pay. Landon actually laughed. Yes, sir, I do. Her father opened the door wider. Come in. I'll fix something simple. We'll see if you can handle real food and not just fancy plates. Landon stepped inside, almost cautiously, looking at the worn booths and the crooked pictures on the wall, like they were art in a private gallery. He sat at a sticky corner table, without comment. Elena watched him, heart beating a little too fast. Her father moved around the kitchen with the ease of a man who had repeated the same dance for decades. He grilled chicken, warmed rice, stirred beans, ignoring the clock. A few minutes later, he slid 2 steaming plates onto the table. Rice, grilled chicken, and a small bowl of beans stretched more with love than with seasoning. "Eat," he said, resting a hand on Elena's shoulder. "Food first, wisdom later." Landon smiled, suddenly looking younger, almost shy. "Yes, sir." Her father bowed his head. "Lord, thank you for this food, for my daughter, and for the courage to keep starting over. Amen." They murmured their amens. Her father didn't walk away. He stayed beside Elena's chair, hands resting lightly on the back. "You know," he began, voice low and steady, "people talk about love like it's hiding somewhere far away. Another country, another life, some perfect person they haven't met yet." Elena lifted her eyes to his. Her father glanced between her and Landon. But real love is about being intentional while still living in the present. Not just chasing what you lost. Not worshiping some future that may never come. It's about who shows up right now. Landon's gaze dropped his plate, jaw working. Her father went on, softer. "We spend years looking for love in distant places, in old memories, in stories that already closed. But most times it's in the person sitting calmly next to us, the one exuding the virtues we already cherish. Kindness, humility, respect, the courage to stay when things aren't easy." The room grew very quiet. Elena felt those words land in the tender places inside her chest. "To find that kind of love," her father said, "you have to look close and within. You set your priorities right. You stop trying to fix the past and start honoring the present. You choose to love on purpose, and you seize the moment God places right in front of you." He gave her shoulder a gentle squeeze and nodded at Landon. "Eat, both of you." Then he walked back toward the kitchen, leaving them alone with the plates, the silence, and something fragile but real between them. For a moment, neither spoke. Elena looked at Landon. He didn't look like a billionaire just then. He looked like a man who had walked into a small, hot restaurant and left his armor at the door. "Why did you come here, really?" she asked. He met her eyes. "Because I wanted to see if I could sit in your world without asking you to leave it. Because I wanted your father to look me in the face and decide if I belong anywhere near his daughter. And because I meant what I said, if we ever write anything together, I want it to be honest, intentional, present, not built on saving anyone, just choosing each other." Her throat grew tight. "Landon, if we try this, I don't want grand gestures that vanish when things get hard. I don't want a love that lives in headlines. I want something steady, something that shows up for ordinary Tuesdays." He nodded slowly. "Then that's how I'll love you. Not someday, not in theory. Here, now, on purpose. And if I fail, I'll own it and fix it, not hide behind my last name." His words didn't sound like a slogan. They sounded like a promise he was ready to prove. She hesitated, then slid her hand across the short distance between their plates. He reached out and met it halfway, his palm warm, his grip firm but gentle. In that simple touch, Elena Marquez understood something she had chased for 20 years. Love wasn't the story that lasted the longest. Love was the story someone chose to write with her in the present, with clear eyes, a steady heart, and both feet on the ground. The girl who once clung to an old promise now sat across from a man who chose her in real time, not because of who she had been, not because of who she might become one day, but because of who she was in this exact moment. And as the lights of the tiny restaurant glowed warm against the dark street outside, the truth settled quietly around her. Love is about being intentional while also living in the present. It can look like something far away, glittering in another city, another life, But most times, it sits right beside us, in someone who carries the virtues our heart has been yearning for. To find it, you look close and within. You set your priorities right. You choose to love intentionally. And you seize the moment. Elena gave his hand a gentle squeeze, took a breath that felt like turning a page, and let the old story finally close. A new chapter began, not written in her diary first, but written in the way they showed up for each other day after day. If you're still here, listening to the story all the way to the end, you're part of a small but powerful group who believes in intentional love and second chances. Do me a favor. Tap like if the story touched you. Hit subscribe so more people, especially those nursing quiet heartbreaks, can find this channel and feel a little less alone. Thank you for being here. Until the next story.